Hey guys, it's Austin with Out Jeeping. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to install a slip yoke eliminator in your transfer case. Now I'm going to be installing it on this Jeep Cherokee XJ right behind me, and it is equipped with an NP231 transfer case. So this video will help you if your vehicle is equipped with the NP231 transfer case. Now the slip yoke eliminator kit I bought today is from Advanced Adapters. I'll put a link in the description below where you can buy one. Another thing you're going to need for this is you're going to need a different drive shaft. With the SYE kit, it basically gets rid of your slip yoke. So you have to have a drive shaft that has a double cardan joint in it. Now, just for the time being, you can actually use a stock front drive shaft for your Jeep Cherokee to use in the rear. So I'm going to be doing that today. Otherwise, you can go online and there's many sources where you can buy brand new drive shafts for this applicant. So without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so now we're under the Jeep. The first thing we got to do is unbolt this belly skid pan right here. And there are going to be 4 bolts, 2 on each side. But before we unbolt that, we want to make sure we have support underneath the transmission, because that's just going to come down after we unbolt it. So I'm going to be taking a floor jack with a piece of plywood on it and just put a little bit of pressure on that. That way it won't fall down and it won't punch a hole through it with the plywood there. Now since we're installing this SYE kit, you don't have to use your transfer case drop. Basically, we're going to get rid of these pucks altogether, and we're just going to have this bolt straight to the frame. Just want to put a little bit of pressure like that, just so it won't drop. Now we can unbolt the cross member. So these bolts are going to be a 17 millimeter. Now I can remove these spacers. Now we can do the other side. Alright, so after taking the other side out, you can see that the cross member is nice and loose and that the only thing that's holding it on is the transmission mount. So to unbolt it from the transmission mount, we got 4 nuts, and they're going to be located in these 4 holes that are going to be on the bottom of the cross member. And that's going to be a 13 millimeter. So you'll want to take your long extension, find it on there, and take it off. Or they sometimes will break. Alright, get ready for this thing to drop once you're on the last bolt. And then we can take that out of the way. Alright, so as you can see, I'm going to need to get a new transmission mount when I reinstall the transfer case because these 2 actually snapped off. But to remove this transmission mount from the transfer case, we got 2 bolts going up into here, and those are going to be an 18 millimeter. And also on this side, we got the exhaust mount going into this transmission mount right here. So once we get these 2 nuts off, we're going to have to push this mount this way and slip it off this rod. So I'm going to break these free with 18 millimeter. Get the other side. Alright, so now this thing is connected to your exhaust, so you're going to have to work it off this little rod over here. So you just got to push towards the front of the vehicle and try to work it off. Alright, so the next step we got to do is remove our drive shafts, and since they're connected to the transfer case, we have to remove the front and rear one. So we're going to start with this rear one right here where it's connected to the axle. We're going to have 4 8mm bolts, and then it should slide out of the transfer case with the slip yoke. On the front drive shaft we have a total of 8 8mm bolts, 4 on the front axle and then 4 that go to the transfer case.
You're not gonna throw that one?
No, I still need this one. Alright, so now to disconnect the linkage that goes to the transfer case, we got to undo this rod that goes into this tab right here, and I'm simply just going to use a screwdriver, kind of wedge it in there, and then we're just going to push back, and then it should pop out. So now we got our Speedo sensor that goes into right here. We're just basically going to take this electrical connector off. It's got a little red safety clip. Okay. Should pop down like that, and then it should pull out like so. So the last thing we have to do is disconnect this vacuum line that's on top of the transfer case, and then after that we can start unbolting all the 6 bolts that bolt in the transfer case to the transmission. So for this vacuum line, we're just going to take a pliers and crimp down on the little hose clamp we got here, and then it should come off. Alright, so when unbolting the transfer case from the transmission, we got 6 nuts in total we need to take off. They're going to be a 1/2 inch. Right here is the bottom one. It's going to be the most easiest one to get out, but then we have 5 other ones that are going to be kind of hard to get at all the way around. As you can see, we have one in between this metal plate. We have to stick a wrench in there, and then we got 2 more on top, and then we got that one up there, and then there's going to be one in this corner down here where it's really hard to see, but you'll feel it with your fingers. Not too bad. Slide back. Alright, so now we got the transfer case up on the workbench. Now we can take it apart. So just a quick overview of what we're going to be doing. We're going to actually be splitting the case right in half, and we're basically going to be replacing this shaft with the new shaft that comes in the kit. And the difference is that instead of these splines sticking out, you're going to have a yoke. And also, it's going to come with this new housing just for this part right here. So first thing we got to do is drain the fluid if you haven't already when it was in the vehicle. These plugs down here, they're going to be a 10mm Allen. Alright, so now we're going to take our speedometer gear out and make sure you mark exactly where it is so that you know how to put it back together, because they can actually rotate. So you want to make sure you know exactly where it is so that the gear lines up with the one inside the case. So we're just going to take a 1/2 inch and take this nut off. And then this pops off a retaining clip. And then with our Speedo, you might have to get a screwdriver or something to pry up against the surface, because there's going to be an O-ring that helps keep it stuck in there. Then there's going to be this metal dust shield right here, and we want to try to take it off, so I'm just going to use a screwdriver or something hard to hammer it out. Now we got this yoke on the other side for the front drive shaft we're going to take off. Alright, so now we just got 5 10mm bolts all the way around this little housing right here we can take off. Alright, so now we want to remove the seal that's around the output shaft here, and once we get that out, there's going to be a snap ring that we have to remove, and then we should be able to remove this housing around here. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and start hammering. Alright, so as you can see down in the hole here, we have the snap ring, and it's going to be kind of difficult to get it off since it doesn't have those little holes where the snap ring pliers can line up into place, so it might take a while on trying to get it out. So basically we're just going to expand it and then take whatever we can to pry up underneath it and try to pull it off the shaft. Alright, so that took some frustration, but eventually you should be able to get it off. I don't think we're reusing this, so we should be alright if you bend or break it. But now this housing should be nice and loose for us to lift it off. Now we can take the bolts out that hold the case together, Note that one of these bolts is going to be a 12 point. So you can see right here, there's actually a little notch made for you to stick a screwdriver or something to help pry these apart, because it's actually stuck on there pretty good with the sealant that's already on there. Okay, so now we're going to lift up on both shafts and we're going to remove it from the case, and along with that we're going to take the chain with it. So you're just going to set this one to the side and then keep the shaft over here. Alright, so what we have to do is remove these gears that are on this shaft, and to do that they got a couple snap rings on each side, and then we're going to take these gears and we're going to put them onto our new shaft and then snap them into place. So here's our new shaft, and as you can see it's going to be similar along this side of the shaft, and then over here it's going to be different because this is where a yoke is going to go instead. So once we get this off, we're just going to slide it off here, and then it's going to slide into the new shaft like so. So now we can use our snap ring pliers and try to get this clip out. Alright, so after finally getting that snap ring off, we can take the gears off. It's alright if you bend it because the kit comes with a brand new one. So next thing we got to do is pull off these gears. Make sure you don't mess up the order. So like that, and then we're just going to move this out of the way for now. And now we can install them on our new shaft, but before I put them on, I'm just going to take a little bit of fluid just to lube it up at first so it doesn't go and dry. So make sure you get around it all. And then we can slide them on. Alright, now we can see there's a little ring inside, so that's where we're going to put our new snap clip. Alright, so after getting that clip back on, we're ready to install the new shaft into the housing. But before we do that, I'm going to go and clean out the whole entire housing, the inside, just in case I got any grime or whatever dropped inside. And I'll also get all the old gasket off so we're ready to put some new stuff on. Alright, so I got everything all cleaned up from the case, all the crud and gasket material off. So now we got the two shafts set up like how it was before when we took it out. We just got this chain around here, and now we can install it into the case. I'm just going to be taking a little bit of fluid and putting it on the gears to help pre-lube it up. Alright, so now we can add our RTV. We want to make sure we go around the whole entire perimeter, and we want to make sure we go around all the bolt holes. So when putting the top part of the case back on, we have to put the oil pump back in. So here we got our filter and tube. So we want to set that into the spot where it goes. Right in there, and then we can take our oil pump and stick it into place. Also make sure that there's an O-ring right here inside the pump, so that way the pickup tube seals up nicely. And now when we put this other side on, we want to make sure we hold on to this pump so that it doesn't fall when we put it on top of the other side. Just want to make sure you shimmy it a little bit, make sure everything lines up. You also want to make sure that your oil pump, that these little tabs are sticking up on the outside part of the case. Check to make sure that that tube is still connected in there. Now we can put the bolts in that go all the way around and torque them down to 20 to 25 foot-pounds. Alright, so now we can install our new Speedo gear, which is this right here. Doesn't matter which way it goes on. But first we need to put one of the snap rings on, and that's going to go into this bottom ridge down here. Then we should be able to put our Speedo gear down, and then we have another one to top it off that goes in this ridge right here. Now we can put the new output housing on, but first we got to put some RTV along this surface. Now we can put the 5-10mm bolts back into place and torque that down to 20 foot-pounds. Now if this plug doesn't come already installed in the kit that you have it, make sure you screw that in and tighten it down. I'm just going to add a little bit of fluid onto this new seal so it's all pre-lubed. And same with the other side with the yoke. Now before we put the new yoke on, make sure to take some RTV and put it on these splines. That way you won't get any leaks coming out from the nut. We can take our new yoke and put it on. I also put a little bit of RTV on the nut so it can't leak from there either. Now we're just going to put this onto the shaft and screw it into place. And we want to torque this down to 160 foot-pounds. Then we can do the same thing with the front yoke. Our last thing to install is our Speedo gear. Make sure you give it a little bit of lube before you put it in. Make sure you remember exactly where it was on the rotation when you took it out, so that way the gears mesh properly. And then we can take our retaining clip and bolt. And then you can line up the retaining clip with the little indents that are on the speedometer. And that way you know the correct position. Alright, we're all finished with this. Now we can put it back in the Jeep. Make sure you give the RTV a good 45 minutes to dry before you put fluid in.
Alright, you got the bigger side.
Yep.
So this side's going to stick down a little bit, and your side's going to go up further.
Yeah, bench press it. On the tip.
Oh yeah.
You're like dropping it down at an angle.
There we go. Okay. Alright, so with the transfer case bolted back in, we can go and hook up all of our stuff that go to the transfer case, like our drive shafts, electrical connections, we got a vent tube on top, and then we also got the linkage. So now we can take our new drive shaft or a stock front drive shaft for a Cherokee, and we can use that on the rear here. Now we can take our plate that has our exhaust bracket and put it back into place. Now we can take our cross member and fit it back into place. Now we can take our 4 bolts that go to the cross member and we can thread them into the frame rail. Alright, so the very last thing we got to do is just fill up the transfer case. What I'm using is just ATF4. Alright, once it starts coming out, we can take our plug and put it back in.
So, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys learned something, and make sure to like and subscribe to the Outjeeping YouTube channel to help keep these videos coming. And as always, make sure to comment below and I'll be happy to answer. So, until next time, I'll see you guys in the next video.